Violent explosion rocks the capital Sana'a due to huge fire in one gas station. Government forces capture espionage cell linked with the Houthis in Ma'rib. The UN says thousands of African migrants entered Yemen in the year 2023. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaza Abdelbain. A massive explosion rocked a gas station in the capital Sana'a Sunday night. Shortly after the explosion, Houthi militants surrounded the area with civil defense teams asked to deal with the incident. According to witnesses, the explosion was heard throughout the city and the fire was visible from miles away. The security forces in Ma'rib arrested a terrorist cell belonging to the Houthi militia. The security media in Ma'rib stated that the Houthi cell was tasked with planting explosive devices on public roads and vital sites. The security media added that the captured cell was involved in igniting chaos between Ma'rib tribes and the government. The Houthi militia sent new reinforcements towards North Front of Taiz. The North Front of Taiz has recently confrontations between the government forces and the Houthi militia after the rebels fired mortar shells at the positions of the government forces. Muhammad Ali al-Houthi announced on Saturday that he ordered authorities in Sana'a to put up for auction the homes and other properties of the former President Saleh's supporters to be able to provide for the late salaries. This move comes in the light of the GPC party advocating for paying the salaries of civil servants, which have been suspended for years. This report has more details.
Houthis in Yemen have said that they will sell the seized properties of supporters of former President Ali Abdullah Saleh and use the proceeds to pay public employees after members of Saleh's party in Sana'a supported intensifying demands for salary payment. In a sign of deteriorating relations between the two allies, a Houthi leader announced that he had ordered authorities in Sana'a to put up for auction the homes and other properties of Saleh's supporters and other Yemenis who back the internationally recognized government in Sana'a and other areas under their control in order to pay public employees who haven't been paid since late 2016. The Houthi leader's order came days after the leader of the former president's party, the General People's Congress, for the first time in years, voiced support for the expanding public salary demands, a statement that infuriated the Houthis. Abu Ras said on the occasion of the GPC's 41st anniversary on August 24 that people have the right to speak about their salaries and they must look at them with compassion and provide them with what we can. The Houthis killed Saleh in late 2017 after he led a military brief uprising against them in Sana'a. While many of Saleh's loyalists fled Houthi harassment after their leader's death, others, including Abu Ras, remained in Sana'a and continued to serve in the Houthi government. Since last year, pressure on the Houthis to pay tens of thousands of public employees under their control has increased, as reports indicate that the militia generated billions of riyals in revenues from Hodeidah port during the UN-brokered ceasefire that went into effect in April 2022. Teachers in Sana'a and other Yemeni provinces have been on strike for over a month to pressure the Houthis into paying their salaries. University professors in Houthi-controlled areas have also threatened to cease teaching if their salaries are not paid. The Houthis respond to the request by replacing instructors with allies, brutally assaulting journalists, and sending threats to activists and politicians.
Foreign Minister Ahmed Awad bin Mubarak met with the head of the United Nations mission to support the Hodeidah Agreement, UNMAHA. He stressed the need for the United Nations to move the headquarters of UNMAHA mission to the liberated areas. Bin Mubarak added UNMAHA mission has abandoned its role and has become just a cover for the Houthis' violations. During the previous 2 days, the Houthi militia held funerals for 13 of their fighters killed on the battlefronts. Among the dead, a military commander who was awarded the rank of colonel and another was a major.
أول شيء أنا وأختي أجينا مع بعض، هربنا من البيت، أمي مش دارية كانت، على أساس إنه أروح السعودية أجيت، وعلى أساس إنه بنشتغل وكذا. حاجات كثيرة كانت صعبة، نحن مش عارفين أصلا الوضع اللي هنا، ما أعرف أجيت وغربة، وبنفس الوقت يعني ما كنت أعرف أتكلم مع الناس وأتفاهم، وبالطريق صعب قزعنا. المهربين جابوا لي بالحوشة مشاكل كثير يعني مع المهربين.
Recent UN data has shown a spike in African migrants arriving in Yemen. Around 200,000 have arrived in the war-torn country with the aim of illegally entering Gulf countries in search of jobs. This report has more details.
Recent United Nations data has shown a spike in African migrants arriving in Yemen. Roughly 280,000 refugees from Africa live in the country. Most of them are from Somalia and Ethiopia, according to previous United Nations estimates. IOM Displacement Tracking Matrix confirmed the continued flow of thousands of migrants from the Horn of Africa to the shores of Yemen, while the number of those who returned to their country did not exceed 5,000 this year. Approximately 43,000 migrants are stranded across Yemen, and the IOM is now appealing for more than $58 million through the Migrants Response Plan to continue its vital support in the region. On the other hand, Yemeni activists have accused the Houthi militia of establishing training camps to recruit African migrants who arrive in Yemen, send them to the battlefronts, and use them for intelligence tasks and smuggling. Yemen is a transit point to thousands of Africans who wish to move to the neighboring Gulf countries. This makes them subject to violence and exploitation by the Houthis. Most of African migrants face all kinds of blackmail, according to rights sources and international reports. Reports say thousands of African migrants in the insurgent-ruled areas are subject to systematic liquidation, especially those who refuse to get involved in the recruitment or smuggling.
The International Organization for Migration announced the displacement of 30 Yemeni families in the past week. In addition, according to the UN, the total number of displaced people from January to September reached more than 4,000 families who were displaced at least once. Massam Demining Project announced removing more than 5,000 mines last August. Massam explained that the total number of mines removed since the beginning of its activity in Yemen amounted to more than 400,000 explosive devices. Coming next in the news. Many years of conflict aggravated the mental health of Yemenis nationwide. Welcome back. Armed conflict in Yemen has not only affected people's physical health, but it also reduced their access to health care, education, and food. This has created serious mental health disorders among them. This report has more details.
Yemen's 9-year conflict has not only destroyed houses, killed hundreds, displaced thousands, and deteriorated economic and living conditions, but it has also taken a toll on people's mental health. Patients who had experienced chronic mental health issues before the start of the war were severely impacted by the fighting and the lack of access to mental health care. Over 5.5 million Yemenis, or 1 in 4, are estimated to have mental health disorders that call for medical attention.
The number of mental health patients has increased as a result of the war, and many have families who need support.
Access to care for those suffering from mental illnesses is extremely difficult in Yemen. As of 2020, the country has only 58 psychiatrists and 120 psychologists, and there are major shortages in other associated cadres, such as psychiatric nurses, social workers, and psychologists.
The conflict has allowed for the proliferation of psychological and mental illnesses, such as ACD and dissociative disorders, among others. When people are deprived of therapy and treatment, they direct their trauma towards their households. In many cases, untreated individuals use physical and verbal abuse to express their unchecked emotions.
In Yemen, the majority of people who have mental health issues wait until their symptoms are already having an adverse effect on their lives and the lives of their families before seeking help and therapy. There are several reasons for this. Many patients fail to detect the early signs and become aware of them only afterwards. This is primarily due to a lack of understanding about mental health conditions. Some people try various conventional methods before going to the clinic for help. The association of mental illness with insanity and stigma also prevents patients and their families from seeking treatment.
The Houthi militia prevented youth initiatives to provide students at many levels of education with textbooks. Sources reported that youth initiatives provided hundreds of students, and they aimed with the textbooks that are collected by citizens in a community contribution that targets poor families. With the start of the new school year, families find it hard to provide for their children basic school requirements. This comes in light of the difficult economic conditions that Yemen is experiencing due to the conflict. This report has more details.
A better educational reality is being experienced by the educational sector in Shabwa Governorate as the new school year comes and the problems have worsened. Patience and accumulated concerns that continue to shift from year to year and today constitute real challenges to the desired goal of educating generations. There are more than 659 primary and secondary schools, in which more than 153,412 male and female students are taught in all regions and cities of the Governorate that suffer from the lack of necessary educational materials and supplies.
We suffer from the lack of employment in the Governorate. From 2012 till 2023, we haven't been able to recruit or employ new teachers. The educational sector is deteriorating. We've been asking for support from the authorities, but no one is offering solutions. Teachers go on strike and leave their classes, so we've been forced to deduct from the salaries of the other teachers so we can provide for new ones to cover other schools in the Governorate.
Teachers' salaries that have lost their value due to the collapse of the price of the national currency against foreign currencies are considered one of the most important and prominent issues that has a negative impact on the quality of the educational process, as it causes the reluctance of teachers from schools as a result of the deterioration of their living conditions.
Regarding by the protests that are conducted by the teachers from time to time, there are huge problems behind this issue. Teachers who work in public schools get paid very little. They can't live with such a salary. They are starving and they are not able to provide for the families. So they are forced to work in private schools that pay more than the public ones. This leads the students to drop out of schools as teachers are not available as before.
Nations do not advance and people do not advance except through quality education, which is the goal that is impossible to achieve under these circumstances and the miserable conditions in which the education sector is drowning in Shabwa Governorate. These problems have disastrous and dire consequences on the nation's present and future.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Violent explosion rocks the capital Sana'a due to huge fire in one gas station. Government forces capture espionage cell linked with the Houthis in Ma'rib. The UN says thousands of African migrants entered Yemen in the year 2023. This is the end of the news. It was Shaza Abdelbaei. Thank you for watching.